So truthfully, I filmed this video already a few days ago, but more like a week ago almost. But I didn't really like how it came out, so I decided to just come back and do it all. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. I'm definitely gonna step my game up. Like, it's just finding the balance. Like, I'm incorporating YouTube into my life, and it's not easy with the 3 kids at home, but practice makes perfect. So I promise I'm gonna come with banger after banger after banger, and you guys are not gonna have to wait a week for videos. So a lot of people know me from high school. A lot of people know me from my younger years. A lot of people know that I wasn't really the greatest teenager that anybody could come by. I was kind of a problem. A lot of you guys don't know me back then. You just know me as a mom today. So I really want to speak on like how I even got to this point and what I had to go through to get to this point, because it hasn't been easy, but it's been so worth it. So for those of you who don't know, I actually got pregnant with Caden when I was 18 years old, and I had him 4 days before my 19th birthday. It was a very significant moment and turning point for me when I had him, because the Selena that I used to be completely died, and the Selena that I am today was born the day that my son was born. And it's like every year on his birthday is kind of a celebration, not only for him but for me as well, because I feel, what's the word for that, a sense of accomplishment. Kind of want to get into the story of how Caden came about, so this might be a long one. If you're interested, stick with me. If not, I'll see you on my next video, maybe, hopefully. But if you are, stick with me, because I'm really excited to tell this story. As you guys can see, I'm actually outside today. I got sick and tired of my bedroom being the background for the video, and it's also really loud in my house right now, so I figured, you know what, I might as well just step out, get a little bit of peace and quiet and fresh air and something new in the background. It doesn't look all that nice right now, but look at the blueberries though. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump straight into the video. So a little bit of background before Caden even came into the picture, so you guys kind of understand where I was at and who I was with before even getting pregnant, before Caden was even an idea. I put a little disclaimer at the beginning of the video, but I want to just say this as well in case you guys didn't read it. I'm going to be speaking on a couple sensitive subjects, so just a heads up. It might trigger some people, it might not. If it does, I apologize, but I'm just warning you. So before I really go into explaining what happened, I just want to give you guys a little bit of a background on me. I've been dealing with depression since I was probably 13, 14 years old. And it was like a constant battle, but I did not know that I was depressed until later on. Now, when I was 17 years old, I think, yeah, 17 years old, I actually attempted suicide. I'm still here, so I made it through by the grace of God. But I did reach that low point in my life, and that was in 2011. Sorry, 2011. Obviously, like I said, I'm here. I survived it. I didn't really understand why I survived it, but that part of the story is very important. So the following year, after I attempted suicide, in the month of November, so this was after a friend of mine had passed away, rest in peace, Julio, and before I got pregnant, the month before I got pregnant, I was sitting in my bedroom window, not in my window. I was sitting at my bedroom window praying. It was a cloudy day, it was raining on and off, and I was extremely depressed. Like the year before, I did what I did, so I was extremely, all right, my bad. I got a little bit sidetracked with the kids. But yeah, so like I was saying, I was at my bedroom window. It was a very cloudy day. My friend had recently passed away. I survived my suicide attempt, but I was still so depressed. And I remember sitting at the window just praying and crying and begging God for like a purpose, for some kind of happiness, because I felt like I was just living life and I didn't want to be here, and I was extremely miserable. There was no reason. I had no ambition, no drive, no motivation, nothing. I was a high school dropout. I actually dropped out in the month of June, so like 5 months before this, or the month of May, so like 6 months before this. I dropped out. I had 13 missing credits. It was the month before I was supposed to graduate, but I was so far behind, I just didn't give a shit, so I just dropped out. So now while I'm praying and I'm asking God, like, just for some kind of help, because I'm not working, I was doing drugs, I was drinking, I was a high school dropout, my friend had passed away, my relationship with my mom was really bad, I didn't have any siblings, I was just home alone dealing with this depression that I really didn't know I had, and I did not know how to deal with. So it was a cry for help. Like, I was really just asking God, like, please help. As I was finishing my prayer, a huge like beam of sunlight, like sun rays, just came straight through my window and directly on me. Now remember, it was a cloudy day and it was raining on and off, but I guess the clouds moved out of the way and the sun decided to shine directly on me. At that moment, I felt like a sense of peace. I didn't really know what that meant. Like, I wasn't thinking anything of it. It was just like, oh, nice and warm, you know, and it was just nice to see sun, because on a rainy day, you know, like, that can be depressing in itself. So it was just very relaxing. Now, at the time, I had this friend from high school who wasn't really much of a friend in high school, but he was someone that I knew from high school, and we had been talking like constantly for the last, by then it was about 8 months, 7-8 months, like constantly, like every day, texting back and forth on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And we were getting extremely close. But I didn't want a relationship. I didn't want anything serious. Like, I was really just like, I wasn't serious. We'll just put it that way. I was not serious about anything. But yeah, it was a friendship first, but I didn't want a relationship, so we kind of met somewhere in the middle, and I got pregnant. So I found out that I was pregnant in the month of January. Him and I had been close for about 10 months at this point, about 10 months, and I found out I was pregnant. So you can only imagine like what I was going through my head, right? Like, I'm 18 years old, I'm a high school dropout, I don't work, I'm just partying, drinking, doing drugs, like literally just wasting my life away. What the hell am I gonna do having a baby? Like, I really didn't know how I was supposed to make that work. Anyway, so once I found out at home. I took a test. I was on the phone with one of my best friends at the time, and like, I told her before anybody else. Yeah, I was freaking out. Once I found out that I had the confirmation that like, okay, I was pregnant, because I was really sick, and he knew that I was getting sick a lot, you know. But anyways, I told the man like, hey, like, we need to talk, you know. And he was like, okay, cool, just like come over whenever. So I went over. I went to see him. I remember this day like it was yesterday. I walked into his room. He had this little couch against the wall, and he's sitting in front of his TV playing video games, and his brother's in the room as well, and they're playing together. So I walk in, he's like, hey, like, how are you, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, like, just give me a minute, I'm just gonna finish this game with my brother, and then we'll talk. All right, cool. So I'm sitting there, a ball of nerves. Like, I'm low-key hoping this game lasts like 3 hours, because I was just not ready. Even though I was there, I still wasn't ready. So the game ended, and I see his brother stand up and walk out the room, and my heart sank. Like, here we go. So he gets up, comes to sit next to me, and he's like, what's up? I'm like hesitating, you know, like I'm even feeling that feeling now, because I'm going back into time and remembering, and like, man, I had a pit in my stomach. Anyway, so I told him like, hey, like, yeah, so I'm pregnant. And he started laughing. He just started laughing. So I'm like, what's funny? And he's like, oh, like, I knew it. So I'm like, all right, well, hey, at least I took that took the element of shock away from the whole situation, right? Like, he wasn't like, what, you know? So I kind of like started to relax a little bit at that point. Now, by the end of our little, you know, meet up, hang out, because I ended up obviously hanging out with him for a bit, we had a conversation. We're trying to figure out, okay, what are we gonna do? And this man, anyway, so we came down to the conclusion that, you know, we weren't gonna keep it, because he was in school, not in the city. He was in school out of town, and yeah, I was kind of just a screw up. So like, having a baby with who at the time was my best friend, he was my best friend, but he wasn't my boyfriend. So having a baby with my best friend, being a high school dropout, and like literally I had nothing going for me, it just seemed like the stupidest thing that I could do, you know. And I felt bad, like I didn't want to force the man to drop out of school or, you know, like reroute his life. So we kind of both just agreed like the best decision was to not keep the baby. So I was supposed to have an abortion. I left that night, said bye to him, blah blah, go home, and I stayed up all night. No word of a lie, I did not get not 1 minute of sleep. I stayed up all night, and as the sun started to rise, I had been crying all night. I forgot to mention that, just crying all night, because like, I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that, one, I was even pregnant to begin with, and that, two, I was really choosing not to keep this baby. It was like, what am I doing? Like, could I really live with myself? What am I gonna do? Like, if I don't keep this baby, what am I gonna do? nothing. I'm already doing nothing with my life. If I don't have this baby, what am I gonna do? More nothing? It just seems stupid for me, you know, and very selfish. So, and I'm not knocking anybody who gets an abortion, trust me, okay? I'm pro-choice, but for me, it just wasn't the right decision. So I stayed up crying all night, and as the sun started to rise, I knew in my heart, like, okay, I can't go through with this, so I'm gonna have to go back to my friend's house and tell him, like, hi, you're gonna be a dad. That's where my nerves really kicked in. So obviously I told him, hey, like, we're talking all the time, we're always constantly talking, but I told him, like, yeah, so we need to talk again, you know. I think he kind of had an idea of what I was gonna come with, because what else could I really have to talk to you about? So I went to talk. I told the man, like, I can't go through with this. Like, I need to have this baby. Like, I need to. And surprisingly enough, he was very supportive. Like, he just hit me with, all right, it's whatever you want to do. I'm here no matter what. So it made it a lot easier, and yeah, that's where it all started. Now I was left with the inevitable burden of telling my mom. My mom was a single mom, okay? I had no siblings, so it was just me and her in the house. And my mom and I had a horrible relationship. We just did not get along, like, at all. It was really bad. So imagine how I felt knowing I had to go home and tell this woman, like, hey, you're gonna be a grandmother. And she was 39 at the time, if I'm not mistaken, or 38 when I told her, 39 when I had him. Something like that. So I had this brilliant plan, right? Like, I'm not gonna go home, because she was picking me up at his house. I'm not gonna go all the way home, wait till we're home, and then tell her I'm pregnant. Why would I do that? I'm gonna tell her while she's driving. Can't throw hands while you drive. Well, I mean, she could, but she didn't. She still hates me to this day for doing that. So I told my mom in the car, like, hey, like, I have something to tell you. She's like, what? I'm like, you're pregnant. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. She's like, no, you're not. I'm like, yes, I am. She got mad. She was disappointed. She was like, yeah, like, you're stupid. Like, what are you gonna do now? Like, now you have to focus on a baby. What are you gonna do with your life? You know, she really thought that, like, I was ruining my life by having it. So I went on with my life for about a week. She wasn't talking to me. She eventually came to my room asking me, like, hey, do you want to eat? I don't know if it was, do you want to eat or do you want to go out to eat? Whatever it was, I said yes. I'm pregnant, I'm hungry, and I know if you're offering me food, you're trying to, you know, reconcile. So I was with that. And after that, my mom was super excited for the baby, and, like, she was helping me get ready and prepare for kids. So at the time, I had a few friends who, like, I used to turn up with, party with, hang out with, just do things with. I was a teenager, and they were still there when I got pregnant, you know, promises of, I'll always be your friend, I'll stick around, da, da, da. Now, no hate on them, because I understand, but they didn't stick around. If you're having a baby and you're young, you might have some friends who stick around for good, and those are the real ones, the loyal ones, like the real ones. But you're gonna have a lot of friends that are gonna turn their back on you, and it's not because of anything personal. It's not that they don't like you, it's not that they're fake. It's that when you become a parent, you become a mom or a dad. This applies to dads too. When you become a parent, especially when you're young, you grow and you mature in ways, and you have certain responsibilities that they don't have, and they don't grow in that way, and they don't mature in that way. So it's hard for them to meet you halfway, because you guys take two completely separate paths. And it's not a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. It's important to pick your choose. It's important to pick your friends carefully when you're going to have a child, or when you have a child, because some friends don't really have you or your kid's best interest at heart, and that's really important to keep in mind. So as I was saying, like, I had a lot of friends, you know, at the time, and they all kind of started to, you know, disappear more and more as I couldn't go out, I couldn't go to the club, I couldn't, you know, drink, I couldn't smoke, I wasn't doing any of these things. I was staying home, I was working, so I lost a lot of friends. Knowing that I had my son coming, I really wanted a boy, by the way. Like, I didn't want a daughter first, I wanted a son first. I was completely blessed to find out when I was having a boy. But knowing that I had him coming, like, this is why I say that he completely saved my life. Like, he saved, like I said, I was a high school dropout, I wasn't working, I was doing drugs, I was drinking constantly, not even just on the weekend, like I was just wasting my time, wasting my life. I was just wasting it. But knowing that he was coming, I went to work. I was working part-time. I was going to school. I was going to St. Mary's. Those who know. It's like a school. It's like a UVO. It's like a school for young pregnant mothers or young mothers, period. And I think it's up to 21 or 23 years. I'm not sure, don't quote me on it, but I was going there. I made my 13 credits before my due date. I graduated 2 months before I gave birth. So I was 8 months pregnant. Graduated. I went back to school and I graduated, and that's something that I never thought I was gonna do. Like, I never thought I was gonna go back to school, but I did. I was working part-time, I was saving money, I was setting up his entire nursery, buying everything that he needed. Like, it's like I went from being so irresponsible, so immature, so selfish, to now I'm responsible, my head is on right, you know, and I'm grinding and I'm doing what I need to do for my child. Kaden came eventually. His dad and I ended up falling in love and being together for a few years. We had another daughter. We had another child, Sienna. And then not too long after she was born, we separated. And I moved out and he moved out. And we each went our separate ways. And it was a few months after the separation that I was sitting down and I was thinking, like, yo, remember that prayer that I said in my room? And I took in the fact that I said this prayer a month before I got pregnant and 2 months before I found out. And I was asking God for purpose. God, like, please help me find a purpose, a reason to live, because right now, like, I don't see it. And the sun started shining on me, but I didn't take it in back then. It took me almost 4 years to realize, like, wow, he really did answer my prayer. Ever since I had my son, I still deal with depression to this day. I think that's going to be like a forever battle for me. I just kind of have to learn how to cope with it and like how to maneuver around it. Sorry for the noise. I'm outside, so if you hear noises, sorry. It's better than hearing kids screaming and fighting all day though. But like I was saying, ever since I had my son, I'm still dealing with depression. I'm still going through a lot. There's a lot of things that have happened since his birth that I've had to push through and get better with, but and heal from. But one thing that has not happened is any sort of suicide attempt. I used to plan my suicide. I used to write suicide notes all the time. I remember this one time I packed a bag getting ready to run away. I actually did run away at one point for a couple weeks or a week. I'm not even too sure. I went out of town and everything. Like, I used to just try and run away from my problems, and ever since I had my son, the thought of running away has not even crossed my mind, because where am I gonna go? Or what am I gonna do? I have kids now that look up to me and that need me. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still myself, you know, I'm still Selena. I've grown and I've found a certain level of peace. I'm not at peace fully yet, but I found a certain level of peace that I would not have found if it had not been for my son. The reason I thought it would be important for me to film this video, one is because it's like my favorite story so far of my life is how my son came and like completely shifted everything in my life and put me on a straight and narrow path. But two, because I know a lot of young moms, a lot of young moms, and what I see a lot on social media, even in person, because I've gone through it. I still do, honestly, which is weird because I don't look that young anymore. But anyways, what I see a lot is people judging. People judge young moms like too much. I just spilled so much stuff on me right now. And I was trying so hard not to dirty myself. Anyway, so like I was saying, I'm pissed. I look like I peed myself, but we're just gonna ignore it. You guys can't see it, so we good. Like I was saying, a lot, if not all, I'm gonna go with all. That might not be correct, but all young mothers face judgment almost every day. Some we are aware of, some we are not. Some aren't directed towards us, but we see it, so we take it personally. You know, and some are just very blatant. Some people just blatantly disrespect us because they feel like they can. I just want to say a couple stories of what I went through as a teen mom. I remember being super pregnant with Kaden. Now, I was 18 when I was pregnant with him. So I looked very young. Like, I still look young, but like I looked like a baby. You could tell I was a baby having a baby. And I was on a city bus one day, super pregnant. I was going to St. Mary's. I must have been like 8 months pregnant. And I come on the bus and it's fairly full, and I'm standing at the front, like 8 months. Like, I was huge, okay? I was really big with Kaden. I'm standing at the front of the bus, and not one single person moved for me. Not one single person decided to stand up and offer me a seat. Everyone was just looking at me with like disgust, almost like, ugh, look at this young girl pregnant. Like, ew. I look back on that now, and I'm a little upset at myself for not saying anything. Like, I was very, I was softened up when I got pregnant. I used to be loud, outspoken, like, I just didn't give a you know, but like, once I got pregnant with him, I kind of humbled myself, so I got quiet, and I was more concerned with protecting myself, my energy, and my baby than, you know, like, standing up for myself. But looking back now, I wish I would have said something and been like, hey, excuse me, anybody want to offer me a seat? Like, I'm mad pregnant. There was a lot of young people too, like 20s, 30s, just chilling, just sitting there looking at me like, ugh. Like, okay. And there's this other time, this was after I had Kaden though, so I was more willing to speak up for myself. Like, I had found myself a little bit more after I had him, so like, loud ass pain. So like I was saying, I had found myself a little bit more after I had him. Like, I was coming into my own as a woman, so I was more ready to speak up when I needed to for myself and stand up for myself. So there was this one time I was walking with him. I was 19 because I had him 4 days before my 19th birthday. He was a few months old, so I was 19 years old, and I'm pushing him in his little stroller, and I was going to either Shoppers or like the Quickie that wasn't far from where I was staying. And there's this lady sitting on a curb, just sitting there, and I'm walking by her, minding my business, you know, smiling. I smile at everybody when I walk. And this lady, for real, just looked at me and goes, how old are you? Like, why do you care? Anyways, I answered her and I was like, I'm 19, why? And she was like, you look 16 and you're way too young to have a baby. This lady was like 40, almost 50 years old. You know, like, she was older, not old, older. And like, she had the audacity to speak to me like that. Like, I understand, respect your elders, but one, like, you're not my kin. You don't know me. I'm a child in your eyes. So how do you feel comfortable coming to me and telling me that I'm too young to have a child? My first thought was like, okay, cool, that's your opinion and that's great and all, but he's here. You see him. What am I supposed to do now? Put him back inside me, send him back to the factory? Like, hello, I'm too young to have a child, but I have a child, so what are you really talking about? I let that lady bother me all freaking day. Like, all day. I went to the store, I walked back home, and I was still pissed. Like, this lady doesn't know me. There was another time I was at Saint Laurent. I think I was with my friend, or I was with my ex, or both. I don't really remember. Those who have big tatas know that some shirts that we wear, a lot of shirts that we wear, it's kind of hard to hide them. Like, they're there. We have cleavage even if we don't want cleavage. Tight shirts, even like this, like, you could see that they're big. You could see that they're there. Right? I was wearing your everyday basic tank top. I was shopping at La Senza. I'm pretty sure I was with a friend at the time. I think. I'm shopping at La Senza at Saint Laurent. I'll never forget. This lady comes up to me. She's like 40, okay? Like, middle-aged white woman. I don't know who she was with. I don't really care. But she comes up to me and she's like, you already have a baby. Walking around with your titties out like that, you're gonna have another one. Is that what you want for yourself? Like, excuse me? The amount of disrespect was so astonishing to me. I was so taken back. This is gonna be the last example that I used, but this one was a really big one. So I had a friend while I was pregnant and after I had my son. A friend, okay? And her and I were pretty close. In high school, after high school. Tell me how we get into a petty argument. Petty argument. It was something stupid. And this girl had the audacity to tell me, well, nobody told you to go spread your legs and ruin the rest of your life. I think back at that, and it's like a part of me is mad. Not mad, because I forgive her, like, let bygones be bygones, but like a part of me is still bothered by it, but another part of me is just like, okay, how do you feel now? Now that you see me today, you see my kids, I have 3 now. You see they're well taken care of. So, do you still think I ruined my life? Now, all of this is being said just so I can make a point, okay? To those of you who don't have kids young, who never had kids young, okay, who maybe you're a grown adult now and you can have kids and it's not going to be stigmatized. For those of you who did not have children young, please don't look at us and judge us like we ruined our life, because I promise you, you don't know our story. Young moms, those of you who are pregnant, just had a baby 2 years ago, whatever the case is, because I still go out and get looked at all the time, even with Carmelo. Like, people look at me like, listen, don't judge. But young mamas, young dads too, I know you guys experience this too. Don't let anybody tell you anything about you as a parent, unless of course you're being neglectful, abusive, all that nonsense. But if you know you're handling your business and you know your story and no one else knows your story, don't let anybody get to you. Don't let anybody come to you and disrupt your peace, because you're entitled to that peace. Take it from me. If someone says anything to you, disrespects you, speaks down on you because you're young and you have a child, always stand up for yourself. You don't have to be disrespectful, you don't have to get loud, and you don't have to tell them your whole life story. You really don't. But it's okay to tell them, hey, you don't know me. And don't speak on something you don't understand. Having my son at 18 years old completely saved my life. It didn't matter to me that I was 18 years old. It didn't matter to me that I was a high school dropout. It didn't matter to me that I wasn't working. It didn't matter to me that I wasn't in a solid relationship, even though we ended up being in a solid relationship. None of that mattered to me, because once I realized I'm going to be a mother, there was no obstacle too big. There was no mountain too high to climb. I knew I'm a woman now, I have a child now, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And that's till the day that I die. So to anybody who ever judged me, because I know a lot of people in high school who judged me once they found out that I was pregnant, thank you. Real shit. Thank you for judging me. Thank you for having an idea of who I was going to be and being completely wrong. I appreciate it. To everybody who doubted me, thank you, because I'm proving all of you wrong. But above all else, to those of you who loved me and supported me through all of the changes I had to go through, it's you guys I'm most thankful for, because that support system is very important. Without my family, without God, I would not be half of the woman that I am today, half the mother that I am today. And if it was not for Caden, probably wouldn't even be here today. But for those of you who didn't know my story when it came to Caden, and for those of you who don't know how I became who I am today, this is definitely my story, and this is exactly how I became who I am today. It's all thanks to my. Alright guys, so if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to my story. I talk too much, I know I do, you know I do, but it's all love all the time. Can I help you? Can I help you?
What?
Do you need something? Okay. You can go inside? Go inside. Mommy's about to come inside. With all of that being said, we all know I talk too much. Thank you for watching. And I'm definitely going to be back with some bangers. Like, it's not going to be just me, I promise. This is probably going to be the last video you see of me just sitting here talking for another couple videos. I'll do a couple videos that's not just me talking, and then I'll come back and you'll see me talking again. If you don't like it, hey, you're entitled to that opinion. If you do like it, I like you. And we a family. Anyways, guys, till next time. It's a video.
What's that?
Okay, you gonna say something? Nice eyebrows, huh? This boy. What you mean, Twin. I love you. Okay, say bye, guys. Say bye, guys.
Bye, guys.